Well, I guess for us it starts at the end of the summer term, doesn't it? When we pull together the data and all our evaluated feedback from the year that's just been, and we take a real hard look at where we're at, and we start to map out our school development plan for the year that follows, which we would aim to publish right at the onset of September. So that work is done led by the leaders, but by staff as a whole and with our governors, in order to make a working document that we're all actually contributing to and a part of. So that's where we start, and I guess we would get that in place by September. We'd publish that, so it's very open, very transparent, and everyone is very well aware of what the expectations are, what our monitoring cycle is, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's very much a working document then, though, through the year. The children actually feed into that. So when our pupil parliaments voted and sorted out in autumn term, they take ownership of their little leadership section. And we do work well. We have AOLE teams across the school. They work on, reviewing. They're responsive to things that happen. We obviously plan in our lesson observations, our learning walks, our learning scrutinies, planning scrutinies, all of that, and our listening to learners, and that feeds in. So every term we evaluate, and then we tweak, things that come up in the autumn term, we then, add to that, don't we? So it's very much a working document. It never looks the same when we reach the summer term as it did in the autumn.
Because we've got different versions of it that builds over the year. And the other thing, of course, is not just about us and our school, but we have to be open to what's going on around us. So, for example, within our local authority, we have to be responsive to their priorities. We have to be responsive to national priorities. So although the heart of it, it's homegrown and it's us, obviously it has to reflect those also. Okay, so it has been a process and it certainly has developed. So at the onset, it would have been very much led by me as head teacher, and then with my deputy alongside me. That moved on and we started to involve senior leaders and governance across our school, and that's been the case for quite some time now. And as we carried on with that and developed more and more staff and worked in partnership with more and more staff and trained them and took them through the developmental process, it now extends to all staff in terms of teachers, teaching assistants, as well as governors and leaders, and of course as well as the children, because the children are playing a really, really active role in it. And that's why we need that time scale where we start in summer 2 and then we also take it into the very beginning of autumn 1, because sometimes that's the point where we have some new staff. And of course we have new children. You mentioned the pupil parliament earlier and our pupil voice groups.
Mm-hmm. I also think it's been a really good way of developing our younger staff or our, our middle leaders. So, for example, currently we complete learning scrutinies. That could be an AOLE team. It could be the LLC team, for example. It could be that we look at books in our learning teams. Sometimes we look at our own books, and sometimes it might be in a different team. So year 1, 2 might be looking at reception, nursery. We have a variety of approaches now that have really developed. And through the year, as we're looking at our SDP, we decide whether lesson observations are most important or whether it might be a lighter touch learning walk, or we're looking at the whole team, and we just decide then really which staff are the best. But it's really helped to grow capacity and develop leaders at all levels, including the children who absolutely love going to watch lessons, don't they, and sharing their books with governors and things. So yeah, it's exciting.
And I think 2 things are important there. One is partnership, where you've got a more experienced partner leading a less experienced partner, so you've got those coaching conversations going on, you've got the modelling, and also the opportunity for staff to work with different staff. So for example, it might be the maths and science team. Sometimes they work as that AOLE team, but then at another round of monitoring, they might work as part of a year 5, 6 learning team, and that exposes them to different personalities and individuals with different skill sets. So all of that's a growth model, because staff are learning from one another through a mentoring and coaching approach. Okay, so for us it is about all learners, absolutely all of them. We're really, really passionate about our curriculum offer, making sure that it's authentic and that children are really going to be motivated and inspired to engage fully in it. For us, teaching and learning is paramount, and we know that we only get the best in teaching and learning from a platform of well-being, so those come together for us. But then that's what I feel that we're really, really good at Langstone, is making sure our curriculum offer is right. We front load our energy into our teaching and learning, our planning, which Jude will talk about in more depth, and we get it right for children. And what we do then is staff work in learning teams, which we've already said before. There's normally 3 staff in a learning team, for example, a year 3-4 learning team. They work together, they combine their skill sets, they make sure that their curriculum offer is really meaningful, authentic, valuable, with the right pedagogy in place for the learners, the right resources in place, and so on and so forth. And then as leaders and head teachers, we're very interested in that. We're very curious about the progress children are making. So we have regular learning conversations. The first one would be the first one is actually in July in our transition handover meetings, where the old teacher hands to the new teacher and they have that first learning conversation about the children that are going to be in their classes. Because we have mixed classes here, we look at children in cohorts, for example, year 3 or year 5, and we examine those cohort trackers on a regular basis, and that would be an opportunity for staff to speak to one of us about the children and the progress they're making. And we want to know about each and every one of them, all learners. So we're not looking at free school meals as a group or ALN as a group, but we're looking at each FSM child, each ALN child, and what the curriculum offer is for them, and whether we've got it right, and whether or not it needs tweaking. And for us, it's about the front loading, and we do that really, really effectively through our planning, don't we? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do project planning. We've done that for many years now. It's really grown. It's really developed. More recently, our block planner has developed, hasn't it? It's grown. That's responsive. It grows. It's not restrictive. The learning can just grow. It can take as long as we need. We're really keen on deep conceptual understanding and learning, not just quick fixes. We don't want any child to be left behind. So we actually use very effectively the chili challenge approach, where we plan mild, spicy and hot, sometimes extra mild if that's needed, sometimes extra hot if that's needed. And the children are very skilled. We've trained the children, even from a very young age, they love a challenge. Everybody loves a challenge. We love every child to succeed at their own level, and there's absolutely no stigma attached. If you start a spicy challenge, for example, and then you realise that's a little bit tricky, the children choose a mild challenge, don't they? Not the opposite way. If they choose a mild and they're really succeeded and they want an extra challenge, they go into spicy. So that way all children are supported and challenged effectively. And obviously we use the closing gap questioning and self and peer assessment, but no child's left behind, and all children are challenged really to really meet their own potential.
And I think it's for the children, it's their confidence in learning. So sometimes confidence is everything, confidence to have a go, confidence to have a failed attempt in learning, and all of that's fine, because sometimes they'll say, I found spicy tricky, so I went back to mild, and then perhaps it's division and they haven't done it for 6 months, and then they did 3 mild problems, and then all of a sudden their confidence is back, and then they're ready to make that next step back to spicy and often hot again. We talk to them sometimes, particularly in maths, don't we, about the rainbow maths, where they've started in the middle, they've gone backwards to come back to the middle and go forward again. And you can see that in their books. And they're really proud that they've actually come unstuck, they've tackled that, and they've succeeded. So all of that is really, really positive, and it's about confidence for them, confidence in learning challenges.
So our children really love to learn. You can see that there's a real buzz in the lessons, isn't there? A real passion. They love to be challenged. They love to be involved. So our curriculum offer is pupil influenced. It's heavily scaffolded by the teachers, but we do, the pupil groups have an influence, and so does the pupil, and they're excited. We don't tend to repeat projects. We always put a new kind of tweak. We keep it current. We keep it real.
Fresh.
We keep it fresh for the children. They're excited. There's a real love of learning. In fact, in our school prayer it says that we love to learn and we learn to love, and you can really feel that as you go around the school.
And when we did our curriculum summary, the children had a massive input into that. So you just talked then about our real curriculum. And we do talk about our real curriculum at Langstone and what that looks like. And it's massively about our curriculum offer, which is influenced by our pupils, which is differentiated with chili challenges to make sure that every single learner is able to make progress and able to have a positive learning experience. And all of that, I think, more recently has been acknowledged and celebrated in our Estin report, where they recognise that though we are a school with relatively low free school meals, and we're very fortunate that many of our children come to school being able to read and they've got high levels of oracy, for example. Nevertheless, they make excellent progress from their starting point. And I think that is all about the richness of our curriculum, the high expectations that we have for our learners and for ourselves and for our staff, and about the whole culture and ethos of our school is very, very much focused on children, their progress, their engagement, their excitement, and how that all comes together for the greater good of the child.